Every movie you've watched about the 300 Spartans lied to you. They weren't fighting to save Greece. They weren't even fighting with the hope of survival. From the moment King Leonidas marched out of Sparta, his mission was something much darker. He was building a human slaughterhouse. In 480 BC, Emperor Xerxes of Persia brought 300,000 soldiers to mainland Europe. He didn't just outnumber the Greeks, he possessed an army larger than the entire population of most Greek cities. He expected a surrender within hours. But Leonidas didn't send an army to meet him. He sent a 3-word death sentence, Molenlab, come and take them. For the next 3 days, a narrow, rocky pass called Thermopylae became the most terrifying tactical trap in military history. This is the raw, unpolished breakdown of how a wall of bronze and broken bones dismantled the world's greatest empire, and the brutal, borderline psychotic training that made it possible. As the unstoppable Persian war machine drew near, panic gripped the rest of the Greek city-states. Outnumbered and politically fractured, many cities chose to surrender, offering earth and water to the Persian messengers as tokens of submission. The destiny of Western civilization hung by a thread, waiting for a savior that everyone believed wouldn't come. But Sparta was a society engineered entirely for warfare. When Persian messengers arrived there demanding submission, the Spartans threw them down a deep well. Sensing the ultimate urgency, Leonidas gathered a small elite bodyguard of just 300 hoplites, men who already had sons to carry on their names, and marched north toward certain death. To understand why 300 men believed they could challenge an empire, one must understand how a Spartan was made. From the age of 7, every male citizen was taken from his family and pushed into the Agoge, the most brutal military training system in human history. They were starved to force them to steal food, and if caught, they were beaten not for stealing, but for being clumsy enough to get caught. They marched barefoot in the freezing winters, slept on beds made of reeds they tore from the riverbanks with their bare hands, and were encouraged to fight one another to establish dominance. By the time a Spartan reached adulthood, he was no longer just a man, he was a weapon. They felt no fear, they asked for no quarter, and they viewed retreat as the ultimate spiritual dishonor. Their heavy bronze shields were not just for personal defense, but to protect the man standing to their left. The Spartan shield wall was an unbroken machine of flesh and bronze. Leonidas and his small force, alongside a few thousand local Greek allies, chose their battleground with absolute tactical perfection. Thermopylae. Known as the Hot Gates, this was a narrow coastal pass where the vast sea crashed on one side and towering, impassable cliffs rose on the other. In this choked bottleneck, the overwhelming numbers of the Persian Empire were rendered completely useless. When Xerxes arrived at the pass, he camped his massive army and waited for 4 days, fully expecting the tiny Greek force to flee in terror. He sent a final warning to Leonidas, demanding that the Greeks lay down their weapons in exchange for their lives. Leonidas replied with his legendary defiance. On the 5th day, Xerxes lost his patience and ordered his first wave of thousands of Medes and Scythian warriors to charge the pass. The Persians ran directly into a human brick wall. The Spartans stood locked together in a phalanx formation. Their massive circular bronze shields created an impenetrable armor, while their long dory spears reached out from the gaps, easily piercing the light linen armor of the advancing Persians. The narrow pass quickly turned into a horrific meat grinder. Frustrated by the heavy casualties, Xerxes decided to stop playing games on the second day. He deployed his most feared weapon, the Immortals. This was an elite royal guard of 10,000 heavily armed Persian super soldiers, so named because if one fell in battle, another immediately took his place. But against the hardened Spartans, the Immortals proved to be entirely mortal. Leonidas utilized a brilliant tactical deception. The Spartans would engage the Immortals, pretend to break formation in a panicked retreat, and run backward. Suddenly, the Spartans would stop, turn around on a dime with perfect synchronization, and reform their unbreakable shield wall, crushing the scattered enemy. Xerxes, watching from a high golden throne, reportedly leapt to his feet 3 times in pure horror as he watched his elite guards slaughtered like cattle. For 2 agonizing days, the hot gates held firm against every trick in the Persian military handbook. But the ultimate tragedy of Thermopylae would not come from frontline combat. It would come from dark betrayal. A local Greek peasant named Ephialtes, desperate for the life-changing wealth and gold promised by the Persian king, walked into the enemy camp under the cover of night. He revealed a secret forgotten mountain trail called the Agoge Pass, which bypassed Thermopylae and led directly behind the Greek defensive lines. Xerxes immediately sent a massive detachment of troops down the mountain path. By the dawn of the 3rd day, Leonidas realized they were completely surrounded. Knowing that a rearguard action was required to save Greece, Leonidas ordered the allied forces to retreat. Leonidas and his 300 Spartans, alongside 700 fiercely loyal Thespians, volunteered to stay behind. On that final morning, the Spartans marched out into the widest part of the pass to inflict maximum damage, fighting for pure vengeance. The battle degenerated into a chaotic, primitive bloodbath. When their long spears shattered against enemy bones, they drew their short Xiphos swords. When their swords snapped, they fought with their bare hands, their heavy shields, and their teeth. King Leonidas fell early in the brutal melee, triggering a savage struggle over his body. Eventually, exhausted and stripped of weapons, the last remaining Spartans withdrew to a small hill. The Persians finished them from a distance with a relentless, sky-darkening rain of arrows. The 300 Spartans died on their feet, but their sacrifice achieved immortality, buying the crucial time needed for Greece to unite and save the cradle of democracy. Did this dark reality of the Spartans change your perspective on history? If so, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel to support us. See you in the next breakdown.